In this podcast, we will talk about the patterns of the Earth, Moon, and Sun. Let's talk about the Moon first. The Moon has phases that change cyclically as the Moon orbits the Earth. The phase is dependent on the changing position of the Earth, Moon, and Sun. The different phases are the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the last quarter. Then the cycle starts over and there's another new moon. The moon's phase cycle repeats every 29 days. Therefore, the timing of the moon's phases shift about 1 day forward with the beginning of each new cycle. This image is the current moon phase calendar for January 2012. Therefore, in the context of patterns, we see a new moon phase cycle start every 29 days, and so we can have a general idea of what the moon will look like at a particular point during this new cycle. For example, on the 17th day of the cycle, the moon will be in the last quarter, or around the 8th day of the cycle, the moon will be full. In this sense, patterns are very helpful in predicting and understanding the phases of the moon.
The seasons are a powerful force in our lives. They affect the activities we do, the clothes we wear, and the moods that we are in. Have you ever wondered the reasons for the seasons? There is a pattern of the seasons that occurs as the Earth moves around the Sun each year. This means that different hemispheres are exposed to different amounts of sunlight throughout the year. Because the Sun is our source of light, energy, and heat, the changing intensity and concentration of its rays give rise to the seasons of winter, spring, summer, and fall.
The Earth is tilted at an angle of 23.44 degrees to the plane of its orbit. Because of this, different latitudes on the Earth directly face the Sun at different times throughout its orbit. It is this variation that primarily brings about the seasons. When it is winter in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere faces the Sun more directly and thus experiences warmer temperatures than the northern hemisphere. The converse is also true. From the perspective of an observer on the Earth, the winter sun has a lower maximum altitude in the sky than the summer sun. There is a larger distance that light must travel through the atmosphere, so it allows more time for the atmosphere to take the heat away. Spring comes after winter. The duration of spring changes with different time zones. In colder places, the spring is much shorter. Spring is a time for growth and rejuvenation after the long cold months of winter. The start of spring is marked by the vernal equinox, which is when the sun crosses directly over the equator. Spring ends and summer begins at the summer solstice. The summer solstice is when the axial tilt of the Earth is turned to the sun the most.
During summer, the axis leans us towards the Sun, which means that the northern hemisphere spends more time pointed towards the Sun, and the Sun's rays are more concentrated, which makes the Earth's surface warmer. The autumnal equinox marks the beginning of fall. At this time of the year, the Sun appears to be directly over Earth's equator, and the lengths of the day and the night are equal over most of the planet. The leaves change colors in the fall as a result of this yearly cycle, making this all a part of nature's pattern.